Hey, it's me, Ray, host of this very podcast. What if you had insights into your genetics that could help you live healthier? And how would you use that knowledge to change your life? You can hear me talk about how insights from my DNA have affected my personal health journey on this season of the podcast Spit from iHeartRadio and 23andMe. Host Baratunde Thurston explores how DNA isn't just about ancestry, it's a key to understanding your health. On this season, you'll hear me and 22 other podcasters discuss what genetics revealed about our health and how that knowledge has impacted the way we live our lives. Listen to my episode out now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you want to win 2 tickets to the FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar? Frito-Lay is giving you the chance to make history by joining their Pass the Ball Challenge. Add your picture to the Golden World Soccer Ball, then pass the ball to fellow fans to score additional entries. Scan the QR code on specially marked bags of Lay's, Cheetos, or Doritos, or visit FritoLayScore.com and pass the ball now.
No purchase necessary. Open to legal residents of 50 USDC. 18 plus grand prize entry deadline 11/10/22. Entries received after 11/10/22 are only eligible for secondary prizes. See rules at FritoLayScore.com.
You're listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. Hello, podcast human beings. Thank you for downloading this episode of Scintillating Conversations with people involved in independent music. And we have another fun one from Outbreak Fest over in the United Kingdom. I recorded this in front of a live studio audience. Technically not a studio, but you get the point. This is in front of human beings at a music fest. And this was done in June of 2022. I loved these discussions. It was the first time I had ever done anything live like this before, and it went great. And I have 2 conversations to bring you a supersized episode today. So two for the price of 0, because technically you're not paying for it, but you get the point. I have Walter Schreifels up first from Quicksand, Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits, Rival Schools, World's Fastest Car, Moondog. I can go on and on, but Walter Schreifels is a very generous human being, and he's also an incredible musician. I have worshipped at his altar ever since I saw Quicksand in front of thousands of people when they were on tour with Offspring, and Walter's just a great chat. This was the second time that he's appeared on the podcast. But this was a really, really fun conversation. He actually flew over specifically to do this chat, and it was really awesome. And then, right after that, is Will Yip, the producer du jour, producer extraordinaire. You name a record, he has probably touched it, from La Dispute, Balance and Composure, Circa Survive. I could just go on and on, but you know him. I dare you to pick up like 10 records, and I imagine like 2 of them are done by Will Yip. Pianos Become the Teeth. I'll stop. But Will was a great hang, and he also came over specifically for this chat and music festival, and it was a great vibe. Both conversations were, well attended. Like, I really didn't know what this whole thing was going to look like, but both chats were just super fun. And so I want to bring them to you, and that's what we're doing. So business stuff up top. You can always email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. I love to hear from you, correspondence, guest ideas, whatever the case may be, or just saying hello, here, check out this record. Whatever it is, I'm here for it. You can also leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast, or just leave a rating on Spotify, or just share this episode on social media. Share it to your friends. Share it to anybody who should be listening to it, because after all, that's the best way to tell people about stuff is word of mouth, right? That's the best form of marketing. And support all of the people who are advertising in this particular podcast. They've just been really, really supportive, whether it's Evil Greed, whether it's Rockabilia, or other companies that if you hear my voice and you hear me talking about a product, that means I have signed up for it and I want you to know about it. So when you support that, it supports the show, and it's a very virtuous cycle. So like I said, first up, Walter Schreifels. and then we'll take a little break. I'll intro Will Yip, and then we'll go into his conversation. So here we go.
Thank you all.
I feel like I'm introducing people at a late night show, like I'm like Jimmy Fallon or something like
that. Let's go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Walter, I know you were flown over here for this, but regardless, I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
How was your set? I was not able to catch it.
The set was so fun. I was a little sketchy on some of the songs that I haven't played in a while, but the audience was very cool. I don't know whoever was there for my show. Thank you all. You were very, very cool. Thank you. Yeah, hell yeah.
It would be funny if they were like, yeah, you sucked.
It's a long trip over here to suck. So,
yeah.
But luckily, very, very cool audience.
That's good. That's good. I had you on my podcast about a year or some odd ago, which was special for me because I have watched you many years perform musically. The first time I saw Quicksand was 1995. That means I'm old, and he's older, but that's okay. We're old. Right? Maybe? No? He's young, I'm old. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
Anyways, I saw him in 95 with The Offspring at the Brent Events Center in Irvine, California.
Yes.
I had no idea who Quicksand was.
Yeah.
But you guys were great.
That was a great show. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That tour must have been really weird for you guys because that was when Offspring was like completely skyrocketing, and you guys were one of three, I want to say.
I think we were direct support.
Okay.
And they were very. They had just come out with "Keep 'Em Separated."
Yes.
So that was kind of exciting.
Yeah, you got to play to a lot of people who.
We played to a bunch of people. That was like an arena.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was. But the thing I like about you is that you, in my opinion, you have definitely aged gracefully within music. Where honestly, people have affectionately called you Uncle Wally.
Yeah.
Have you been?
I hear that sometimes.
Okay.
That's nice.
And I think that most people, in my opinion, kind of look at you in this sort of, are you familiar with the film Dazed and Confused?
Dazed and Confused, I've seen it. It's awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
So the character of Matthew McConaughey, but you're not the creepy guy hanging out at high schools trying to pick up on high school chicks.
No.
But you're just the guy that's like, hey man, like I can still hang with you guys and it's cool.
Yeah.
And I know you're not consciously thinking about like, hey, how can I hang with the kids? But, how have you, I guess, stayed connected to this music scene when really you like don't have to anymore?
I find it so inspiring that I'm like walking around here today and seeing like all these T-shirts of like I see a Burn T-shirt and all these different bands that like I grew up with, and that this kind of community is kind of like writ large, the kind of things that I was doing with my friends when I was a teenager, that this was like just sort of like a feeling about doing things yourself, not waiting for like permission from some authority thing to say like, okay, now you can legitimately do this, to just understand that you go from point A to point B on your own steam, and that gives you the control to like do it the way that you want to do it. And I find and at the time that we were doing it, no one really gave a shit about it. It was all just obviously like, I'm not romanticizing it being small, but it's really awesome to see that the music is diverse, but the idea of this sort of like do-it-yourself culture has become endemic, that it just keeps going and keeps growing. So me being a part of that is like really a wonderful thing in my life, and I'm just happy to see it, and that it makes sense because it is so much cooler than like waiting for somebody. I mean, to tell you what's good, or to feel like you can't touch it yourself. So,
sure. Yeah, and ultimately that's why you not only stay engaged and creative. I mean, probably there's really no quote unquote plan B for you.
I think I swam too far out to swim back. And to be honest, I love making music. I'm here seeing all the bands like everyone else here, and am catching inspiration from everything. I mean, I don't know how many people here are musicians or artists. I have a feeling a lot of people are in one way or another, and I think it's a festival like this is the perfect environment to like really soak up what other people are doing and and kind of regurgitate it in your own work, whether that is like a visual or a musical or whatever.
Yeah, no, you're right, because that influence will be able to inform the choices that you make, where it's like, I watched this 16-year-old kid kill it on stage, and I'm like, I want to try to, like, that's interesting what they're doing. Not like you're just going to rip them off, but, I mean, maybe
I would rip them off.
Okay, that's good.
But it won't come out right. I think that's the thing when you rip somebody off, like, you could think, oh, man, I'm going to get busted for this one. And people do get busted for it, but I think, like, more often, it's like you're trying to rip off one thing, you're aiming for one thing, but because of how you are personally, like, you don't really... You reveal more about your own personality and your own way of doing things than you do about the influence. And I think it's about kind of honing that, building the confidence, or just like not really giving a fuck in some ways about like that you are unique in what you do and how you see things and how you create, just like your signature, your fingerprint, or whatever it is. And if you kind of get into that and present that in an honest way, and it rocks you, like, that's going to be meaningful maybe to other people's lives, but certainly to your own life to kind of move on and to in your own story. And I think art and music is more than like, obviously it's very cool to be in a popular band and be on stage and all that kind of stuff is important or fun and exciting for culture. But I think more what I love about art and about music is how it is you can help write your own story throughout life, and it can be your companion, and a way to like exercise, just your view of life. And I think it doesn't cost anything. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All this stuff is free. I mean, it's.
You got to work at it.
Yeah, it's paid for in sweat equity, as they call it. What also I think impresses me about your body of work is the fact, like, with Quicksand, you could have literally, the reunion and putting out multiple records since you guys have come back. You could have literally rested on your laurels and just be like, all right, guys, let's do the victory lap. Let's do the 20-year anniversary tour. And honestly, like, maybe put out one record and that's it. But you don't seem to rest on your laurels. And I presume that that's important for you because you are still probably defining what Quicksand is musically for you at this point.
I think it's, for me, it's important to just keep moving, telling that story and like developing it and like having different experiences. Like music just takes me to different places. I meet new people. Just funny shit happens. Inspiring things happen. Things that I'm like afraid of, and that happens by creating new stuff and being a part of like, participating in your own story, participating in the story of the culture, and I think not to knock like people that's not important to them or whatever, but for me, I feel that I can really only enjoy like my old kind of catalog stuff in the balance of something that I'm doing currently, because otherwise, I don't know, I feel like you just sort of calcify, and I'm afraid of that.
Right. Well, yeah, then you just become like a karaoke.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm not judging it. People get paid a lot of money to go out and do their thing. God bless them. Yep. And that's an important thing, but I think ultimately, like, I'm not getting paid that much that I just want to like sit back and chill. Like, I got to keep moving, because honestly, like, that's the fun of it for me, or that's the great part of the excitement for me.
Right, the momentum is created because of that.
For sure.
Right. The rival schools, especially over here in the UK, we briefly talked about it on the last podcast, but you guys did really well over here. I mean, like radio airplay, like mainstream stuff that you probably hadn't experienced with any of your other projects prior to that. When did you feel that momentum from over here where it's like, whoa, what the hell? Like, what? We're getting played in the radio? Like, we're charting and whatever else people talk about over here?
I was thrilled because in America, like, it seemed when I was growing up that all the cool music was in the UK. Like, it just... Like, in the United States, like, when I was young, it was a lot of... hair metal, which I think people have like a lot of like sort of like kind of what is it? It's kitsch a little bit now, like this sort of like, oh yeah, like Warrant, but when Warrant was the band, it was not fun. But in England, they've always had this sort of like, like the Specials would be the number one band. Like, so for me, when all these like cool bands, like My Bloody Valentine was like a popular band in England or in the UK, when in America it was just very, very, very niche. So being in the NME and all that stuff was sort of like, to me, feeling like cool. Like, I don't know, whatever. I found that really exciting, and the UK audiences were just so awesome, and have always remained so even till today. It's just it's always, I feel a kinship. I mean, even just Manchester, I'm thinking about like New Order, Joy Division, the Buzzcocks, the Smiths, Stone Roses. Did I say Buzzcocks? I mean Oasis. Jesus.
Yeah.
So in this one city, which I don't know how many people live in Manchester, but like that's like 8 bands or so that's like in my DNA of music. And so like to be here and be among the people and all that kind of stuff is just like, well, good for me. It's cool. I appreciate it.
Wow, Rival Schools is cool in the UK. I'll take it.
Oh yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely. Wonderful. Because you have played so many shows and have probably hurt yourself many times doing maybe stupid things on stage, whether it was a jump or smashing a microphone in your teeth, what's the worst show injury you felt like you've had?
Really, the worst one was actually my teeth, because I had one of these microphone stands that's like a circular one, and it was like, like you go to get a wonky table at a restaurant, and and it's kind of like that, and your drink gets knocked over. So the microphone was like a wonky microphone, and I was like gonna sing some really cool thing, and I'm like, all right, here I come, and I like put my foot on the microphone stand, and it whooped back into my teeth, and just my teeth just went like dust.
Oh, how many did you lose?
The front teeth, not the whole tooth, but like I had like a kind of Dumb and Dumber was the movie at that time, and I had like kind of a Dumb and Dumber haircut, and then I had like Dumb and Dumber teeth. And so
that was like manic compression era?
That was manic compression era. That was probably it didn't. I mean, if your tooth get like dusted, it's like they were dusted out. It doesn't physically hurt, but yeah.
I just love the description that you said, where I looked like Dumb and Dumber. I'm closing my eyes and picturing my Quicksand poster, the promo poster.
Oh, it's easy to picture.
I'm like, oh yeah, you did have that look.
I was on the Dumb and Dumber train at that time.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
You and Jim Carrey need to meet at some point.
Yeah.
I love that. You primarily because you have most of your bands have existed in kind of the major label system, and you've had to do things in regards to tours that you might not like. I know you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you toured with Typo Negative, right?
I did not, but that would have been fun.
Okay,
yeah.
But unlikely pairings as far as tour is concerned.
There have been. I mean, the Offspring one was kind of off-brand, but I think in those times, in this kind of major label time, they're just really trying to create something an activity that you're doing something, and from my point of view, it was. I remember meeting. I've met people over the course of time that said like. Nick from The Strokes told me, I saw you opening for The Offspring. So you meet all these different people that saw you, because The Offspring was a band that, very young kids would go see, and Quicksand was probably a little bit more like kind of cerebral and kind of angsty, but The Offspring were cool for asking us out. I mean, we're making this all about The Offspring, but
no, but
I am.
Yeah, that's fine. But there were probably more unlikely. Like, did you find yourself working better with like heavier bands, or working better with more sort of like radio type bands?
I guess I would find it. I don't know that there was like an archetype for us. You know what I mean? And I think we came from that's why I think it's so nice to see, these bands like Turnstile and so many of the bands tonight drawing on similar influences that I drew on at the time. That Bad Brains becomes like something that people know about in a wider sense. But I think like the music that was coming out of New York and the part that I was a part of, I think is really onto itself. So I don't think it really like travels necessarily in these sort of, larger like, punk kind of Green Day kind of world.
Yep.
But I think that's what makes it special. But it's also nice to see, not that we like invented anything, but we were like on a trajectory that I see continued in an event like a festival like today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the fact that so many people can point to their introduction to quote unquote post-hardcore being like you guys, Orange 9mm, whoever, and then be like, oh yeah, I want to do some version of that, but a more updated version.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
cool.
sure that makes you feel great.
I appreciate it. It's great.
Right, exactly. I'm sure that once you were part of the actively touring, playing 250 plus shows a year, there were moments where you were like, I can't do this touring anymore. The lifestyle is either too difficult for me, I'm too emotionally drained or whatever. When did you feel like that was for you during your most active touring years, whether it was with Quicksand or Rival Schools?
I don't know that I don't know if I like blamed it on, the touring, it was fun, but I guess you're just stuck with your guys a lot. So you don't realize that you're in this sort of strange bubble. But I think touring is amazing. I love to travel. I love to, I can go to any city in most countries of the world, and I have seen it through the eyes of the people that live there. And I feel that that's like such a... not only from being a musician, but just from being in this kind of like, scene that we're in, that there are so many opportunities to just like hang out and see a place that you wouldn't really know to go to the cool place, and so I think touring is where you create those experiences. So yeah, it was a pain in the ass, I think, in some ways, like where you're just like out there to do something, but that's kind of like part of the gig. So I'm not going to cry about it too much, to be honest.
Right. You were like, well, we needed to get out there in order to get our name out there, but I am still traveling. That's cool.
Yeah. You appreciate the good of it, and it's not for everybody, but, a lot of the time I was doing it in a very comfortable way where there was, you're on a bus and you have all these people kind of like trying to help you. But I've also done it by myself. I've also done it in a van like that would break down. I've done it in all these different forms, and they all kind of even out in a certain way. It's just like different angles on the same experience that I'm just kind of, it's my thing, and I think some people would think it's stupid and it sucks.
Yeah.
And are not cut out for it, but I just like it.
But you are, yeah. Speaking of that solo stuff, where, obviously you played the solo sets today and you've done a variety of iterations from it. One thing I personally remember is when you were doing Walking Concert, you did these really interesting things in LA. You did these kind of like one-man shows where you were also telling stories. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Why don't you do that more? Because it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And it's not just blowing smoke up your butt, but it was a really cool experience where Walter would play a song and tell a story about it. So it was kind of like this, really immersive experience where people that might just have gone to see you because they're like, Rival Schools is sick. They're like, what the hell is Quicksand? But do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think doing an acoustic show, generally, if I see someone doing acoustic, I'm like, shit. Yeah. I can't talk. I'm going to be rude. This sucks. So I think if going at it from that perspective, if I do an acoustic show, I try to make it as informal as possible. And, of course, I prefer if people are paying attention, but it's just happening, and I don't do it very often. But, today was so fun, I might start doing it. And now that I got this
Yeah, I'm
You're
forcing
hype man now.
I'm forcing it. I'll manage your one-man career.
I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, just for my selfish reasons.
Yeah.
Two last things I want to hit on. Your experience with Youth Today and Gorilla Biscuits, especially as you've played shows ever since that both bands have done, the reunion stuff.
Yeah.
And what has been the most, I guess, surprising thing, whether it is the size of the shows, the way that people were reacting in certain places around the world? I know that's probably difficult to conceptualize, but what's been the most surprising thing as you've dipped back into these songs that are like, this is 30 years old. Why do people still care about this?
I think it's just really good. I do feel in some ways like when we were doing that music, and I don't want to romanticize it too much, but like I liked all kinds of music. Like I was into... Yeah, like I was naming all these British bands that were not popular in America. I just love music. And then when I discovered this hardcore scene, I just thought like, this is the coolest shit ever. Like I don't care about like all these kind of like U2 weren't my thing anymore. Like I felt like this scene was the best shit that was happening. So even though it wasn't really popular beyond a few hundred people in any given city, but I feel like sort of vindicated over the course of time because these records, I think when I listen to Youth of Today, like when I play with Youth Today, I feel like absolutely I'm so in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm so into the messages of the songs, and like I'm 100% like cult member when I'm in that band. Like I believe in the shit completely. Like my old ass body is just like doing shit that would look insane in any other context, and because I feel it's like important that the messages are I keep saying that. The messages are good and relevant. And I feel the same in Gorilla Biscuits, but I think Gorilla Biscuits is maybe less this zealot thing. It's more about, I feel like the audience, and I think this is the key of hardcore, and you're going to see this all night long. Like the band is an aspect of the larger experience to where the audience is absolutely, their role is essential to what's happening because you're watching the band. You're also watching, like I come out to look at the merch. I'm looking at the merch. In the experience in the venue, you're going to see people stage diving. Some people are going to do it bad. Some people are going to do it amazing. Someone's going to get hurt, hopefully not. And then what are people wearing? What are, like all these things are making the experience. So every single person has a role to like write a fanzine, take a photograph, blah, 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 blah. So in Gorilla Biscuits, I really feel that happening to where this is just like our collective drama, and my hands are moving so fast. Again, I don't know what they're doing. I'm in this sort of like surreal, like timeless state that I think is like what you want to feel. It's like being in the womb while all this chaos is going around.
It's like it sounds like you're possessed each time Youth Today and Gorilla Biscuits plays.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely like that because the messages and when people are throwing themselves off the stage and quite possibly hurting themselves very badly because this music is playing. Like if you stop the music, that would be a fucking insane thing to do. Like, okay, I loved that movie. I'm going to jump off of a high thing now. Like it only happens in this music. It doesn't happen at like, I'm not going to knock some band that isn't hardcore, but let's just take some regular cool band that's playing. Like that's not the thing, but in this it is, and it's not for everybody. But I find it absolutely. I think it connects to that sort of part of our DNA that's like kind of like caveman-y. Like we like to just, I don't know, throw rocks and jump and go crazy.
Right.
I mean, shouldn't throw rocks. I mean, that's
no,
not
right.
The
But maybe throw an empty water bottle.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I never do that.
Safely. No, neither do I.
Yeah. It does look cool, though, sometimes.
It does. The last thing I want to hit on was the fact that the song that you wrote with Civ, Can't Wait 1 Minute More, the fact that I'm sure you have heard it in the most bizarre circumstances, whether it's a sporting event.
Yeah.
can you recall the most weird place that either you heard it or someone else told you, like, hey, Walter, I was, at a graduation and they played Can't One Minute More?
That would be a cool one. I saw the Rangers, which is the New York City hockey team, at Madison Square Garden, and they played Can't Wait 1 Minute More. And it was cool because I designed it, like that was the idea of the song, is to be played at Madison Square Garden during the Knicks. I wasn't really a hockey fan, but they played it for the hockey team. So that was, so I got that that was a cool thing that happened to me.
That's absolutely incredible. Yeah. Well, Walter, thank you very much. And everybody give it up for Walter.
Thank you all very much. Thanks so much, Ray.
Okay, first things first. Pull up your web browser. Go to rockabilia.com. Look around at their website. You will find so much great stuff to look at and order. Third thing to do. You need to use the promo code 100 words or less. That gets you 10% off your entire order. They have so much neat stuff. Like right now, they have a Halloween Rockabilly exclusive Slipknot long sleeve. It's just one of those many, many products that they have on their website that you can purchase and find something not only for yourself, but your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. I don't care who it is. You will find something for them on this particular site. It's all officially licensed. All the bands get paid. They are a institution in regards to supporting independent music, bands of all shape and sizes. And I love Rockabilia for that. So go to their website, have fun poking around. They have a lot of limited edition stuff as of late. Did you ever think that you needed a Dark Throne skate deck? Well, I think you do, because that is what they have on their website. So a lot of this stuff is cool, limited edition. You won't be able to find it anywhere else. But again, rockabilia.com, use the promo code 100 words or less, and you will get 10% off your order. So have fun browsing. There was Walter. What a great chat, because not only is he a really, really good musician, but he's very thoughtful about, just kind of his place in the scene, so to speak. And I think that it's one of those things where he's just appreciative of the fact that he can still be doing this stuff, and he's obviously been able to make a living off of music for quite some time. And it was really cool, too, because his daughter was with him, and I got to meet her and talk with her, and just incredibly sweet human being. But it was also just really interesting for me to kind of be like, just like, do you know who your dad is? I mean, she, to her, he's just dad, and that's kind of it. But anyways, it was just it was interesting to meet a person that was, has a completely different view of someone who we have all watched grow up musically. And so, yeah, it was really cool. But anyways, transitioning from him to Will Yip is very easy, because Will is also a great hang. I had met him a couple times in the past. We actually had dinner together many years ago. And so it was really fun for us to reconnect on this podcast and be able to talk to him about how he approaches production. And he's just a very in-depth dude when it comes to working with bands. And I was really excited to have this chat. So here is Will Yip. You know what I love? I love a very specific point of view, because it lets you know what you're getting into when you either go to their website or consume their art, whatever it is. And evilgreed.net is a great partner for that. They are an online merch seller, web store solution based out of Berlin, Germany. But the cool part about it is they focus on select labels and bands to bring to you, where it's like, you know what, if you like these type of bands, you will like what they have at their store. And you can use this promo code and we'll give you 10% off your entire order. 100 words. Please use that. It lets them know that you heard about it on this podcast. But let me just name some of the record labels they work with. They have Profound Lore, Other People Records, Iodine Records, Closed Casket Activities, Bridge 9. They all have a very highly curated list of stuff that you can buy through them. And I love it so much, because honestly, I like most of the bands that they have on there. And some of the bands that they work with specifically are like Nails, Power Trip, Russian Circles, Blood Incantation, Power Trip. You get it. If it's heavy, artistic, got a very unique point of view, that is what Evil Greed traffic's in. So please go to evilgreed.net, use the promo code 100 words, and everybody wins. And plus, they ship fast to you. I know you may be like, I live in the US. How do you get it to me from Berlin quickly? They get it done. Trust me. That's why they're working with me. They want to spread the word to the United States more, that you can order from them. It is economical and it gets to you fast. So evilgreed.net, 100 words is the promo code.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. This is crazy. I was expecting no one to be here. Like, not one person. I was just talking to you, so this is really cool.
No, honestly, I would be fine if it was just you and I staring at each other the whole time. But yeah, it's been very interesting for me because I had never personally done a live podcast before.
Yeah.
And the first one I did was yesterday with Nate from Zabalba. And I told him before, I was like, dude, if there's no one here, don't blame me. But there was people here. So anyways, but Will, you're great for doing this. I know you came over specifically for this.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Honor. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Exactly. And you get a nice trip to see beautiful Manchester and all of that.
Yeah. We, my wife and I, sitting right there. It's Christina.
Shout out to wife.
Yeah. The whole scene owes a lot to Christina, you know?
Of course.
But, we stopped by London, had a nice couple days in Paris, so it's been awesome. Now we get to wrap it up, headline in Manchester. This is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So I have not had, we've met before. I have not had the pleasure of having you on the podcast from a full episode perspective, whereas other people I've had. So I'm going to do a little biographical information.
Sounds great.
But before that, I am going to hit you with probably a hard question. But
Right now.
Okay,
let's go.
Yes, we're peeling off the Band-Aid. So, I presume you don't even have any idea how many records you've done.
I have no idea.
Right.
No idea.
200 plus.
I think more than 200, because when we were working on our website, it was over 200 of things.
The catalog.
Past 200, I don't know. Yeah.
So we'll say you've worked on a lot of records. Yeah. And when you've worked on that many records, I'm sure there's a voice in your head of, I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to just, here's the Will Yip button that I press in my studio and then all the bands will sound alike. How do you not recycle yourself?
No, absolutely not. I think I don't have many rules in the studio, but my biggest rule is, we're going to never make the same record twice. Even if it's the same band, we approach it all differently. When we work on a record, I know there's a lot of producers that have their thing, have their great signature sound, their signature record, how they go through things. I don't have that. My thing is, when you come to me, is that you're not coming to Will, you're not coming to Studio 4 for a Studio 4 record. You're coming to me so that I join your band. I join your process. I want to make the best record that you guys can make at that time, at that point in your life. So even with a band like Turnover or Title Fight, we went into every single record.
I know, the entire time I knew that was going to happen, where it's every band you say, people go woo, woo! But anyways, yeah.
Every Title Fight record, the first one, we went about it live. We're going to track it live. The second one, we're like, let's pre-pro every song. Let's grid out every single song, focus on song by song. The third record, we went all straight to analog. We're like, all right, yeah, fuck that thing. We already did that. Let's do it straight to analog. The next record, we just kind of built in the studio from the ground up. So it was, how do we add new energy to everything we do? That's my big goal for every record. I never want to make the same thing twice. That's not why I do this. I do this because I want to create something special. I do this because I want to collaborate with great artists, and great artists are not the same. Turnstile is not the same as Code Orange. Code Orange is not the same as Title Fight. They're not the same people. They're all so unique and different. So it's my job as a producer, as a collaborator, to get in their heads, understand their vision, and chase that with them. So yeah, I'm not proud of too many things, but I am very proud that we have very different records under our belt, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's really, I appreciate that articulation, because I think it is. I think every producer attempts to do what you're talking about. There's very few people will be like, you know what? I want to make the same record 100 times in a row. Yeah. I mean, maybe there is.
And there's producers that feel very comfortable, and I feel comfortable. If like a band, maybe they say something, I'm like, oh, that'll be easy. But you know what? I've learned that easy isn't the best. Usually, is digging in. I've learned that from working with Jamie Morgan from Code Orange or Brendan from Turnstile. Is that those guys dig in. They never want to do the same thing twice, and I love that. That's what keeps me going. If I did the same record every time, if I did the same song every time, if I did the same genre every time, I'll be bored. I'll probably be selling T-shirts somewhere. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'll be bored of it. But being able to do such unique things every day, that's why I do what I do. So like even, we just wrapped up New Turnover, and I had the honor of doing literally every single record they've ever done. But we had a real conversation going in. They were like, Will, we want to work with you again, obviously, but because, you've been such an important collaborator with us, but how are we going to make things different? And I love that challenge. How are we going to make this different? How are we going to make it not like the last record or another Studio 4 record? We literally, we tried tracking drums, and they were sounding a little big in the big room, and they're like, yo, it's too big. It sounds like the other shit. We're like, all right. Let's do it small. How do we do it small? It's like, I don't have really a small room. Our control room is about a little smaller than the stage. It's a pretty small control room. We're like, yo, let's do the drums right here, like next to me.
Right.
Like sitting there. It was very uncomfortable for 4 weeks, but we did it. But like that's the thing. Never worry about being comfortable more so than just like chasing every idea and making sure things are special. Just chase the special. And I'm lucky I get to work with artists that focus on special. When all those bands that I named, they're just special, unique, one-of-a-kind bands, and I'm grateful I do what I get to do.
Yeah. And I think it is interesting to hear you say it like that, because when you do look at your discography, where it's like, I'm sure when people look at that list and are like, yo, you did Blacklisted? You did Dead End Path? And then you did, like, just watching the type of, like, yes, you've done a lot of hardcore records, but then also you've done things that have nothing to do with punk or hardcore, or are completely sonically different.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people get attracted to wanting to work with you, because they understand that you're literally, like you mentioned, you're going to join their band, whether they like it or not.
I will tell everyone, I live by this, I'm not a sound guy. And I respect engineers. I love engineers. I am an engineer, but my focus isn't the sound. Like, I care about that, obviously. We're going to get a great sounding thing that you want, how you want it to sound or how we want it to sound, but I'm a song guy. The song is paramount. That's why I get to work with artists from different genres, because they know I'm just focused on the song. Rather it's a pop song, rather it's an indie rock song, rather it's a hardcore song. I'm working with a really cool artist right now that really can't say, but they're so unique from what I usually do. When they hit me up, I'm like, why do you guys want to work with me? and they're like, dude, we know your mind goes to the hooks. We're going to make this music hook a little more and bring out the special dynamics and special movements. I'm like, all right, let's go. So I'm very song driven. That's the motto in the studio, is that the song is paramount. So I think that's why I get to work with artists from different genres. And, I'm very, very fortunate for that, because that's all I care about. All I care about is the song.
Right. Yeah. Regardless of the genre. Makes sense. I know that you started off like you are a drummer. That's kind of your, you would say that's your background as far as like your first instrument.
Yeah.
Why drums?
Not too many people know this. My immediate friends or immediate circle know this, but my background was a lot in hip hop. I grew up in hip hop. Some of the first records I owned were all hip hop records. Why I work at Studio 4 is because that was such a legendary breeding ground for hip hop in the early 90s. And when I found punk music, when I found rock music, I found things that correlated with hip hop, and the drums that spoke to me, the music that spoke to me, were the records, the songs that the drums slapped like the way hip hop records slapped. Like every hip hop record, that snare, those kicks, those are already processed samples, so they're as hard as they can possibly be. Rock's not really like that. Rock's, there's a lot more dynamics, and the processing is a lot different. But so I was really attracted to drummers that hit really hard, or drummers that had a really unique drum sound, So I just love rhythm, and I love dynamics, and so drums were just like what attracted me to music. I played other instruments growing up, but once I found drums, I knew that changed my life. I thought I was going to be a professional drummer for my entire teenage years, But drums kind of led me to the start of my production career. It was because I would go to studios and record at studios, and I hated all the drum sounds. I was like, this sounds so small, it sounds so weak, they sound so soft compared to hip-hop records or Dave Grohl records. I want this to slap. Let me try recording myself. That's how it kind of all started. So that's how drums and producing kind of became a parallel for me.
I love that idea of just being like, I don't like what this sounds like, I'll just go ahead and do it. That's like total kid confidence. Just be like, guys, come on, let me go ahead and take care of that.
I wasn't overly confident. I just wanted to try. But
sure.
Yeah, again, recording and producing was just a means to like a vision. I just had a vision to how I wanted drums to sound, and for like the first 5 years of producing and recording, it was just a means to get my songs recorded and my drums recorded,
Sure.
So it's been a kind of fun ride.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think I did know your hip-hop background from that perspective. And, I mean, clearly there is so many similarities between punk and hardcore and hip-hop.
Absolutely.
And if you don't pay attention to it, like, you wouldn't know that. But just, like, even looking at it for a moment.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that you were tracing those two lines from a musical perspective and then understood how they connected from a cultural perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Growing up in a lower middle class family, and hip hop always spoke to me. Just the messages spoke to me, and then when I found punk music, it was like the same thing, just coming from a different group of people. You know what I mean? So it all just spoke to me, and I just agreed with everything that I was consuming. So and to me at that point, even at a very young age, I knew genres didn't really mean anything to me. You know what I mean? I was like, punk speaks to me, hip-hop speaks to me, it all speaks to me. I just want to speak to people, so I'm just going to make music, whatever it is,
Sure.
So, yeah.
And so how was hip-hop and or punk introduced to you? Like, did you come from a musical household? Like, your parents were listening to stuff?
No, the music, when I told my parents I was getting into music, it was a fucking nightmare to them. It was a nightmare. They were immigrants, Chinese immigrants that literally had to flee mainland China to get to Hong Kong for refuge, and they came over to the States to give their kids a better life. You know what I mean? So they settled in New York. And they wanted their kids, all my aunts, all my uncles, they wanted their kids to be doctors. They wanted their kids, they gave up such a comfortable life back in China so that their kids can excel. And then when I came home one day, I'm like, I think I'll be a drummer. They're like, oh, no, you're not going to be a drummer.
Yeah.
But they were so supportive, even though they didn't want it, they just always backed what I wanted to do and my happiness with it. You know what I mean? I know I'm not answering your question directly
I
right now,
appreciate that.
but it's but it went down this route of just digging in, and they always supported it. And I never had a really musical household other than my brother, who's, everyone's older brother is their biggest influence. So when he brought home the Chronic, the first Chronic, I kind of fell in love with it. And then when he brought home In Utero, that was the one that changed my life. That was when I was like, yo, music sounds like this. Before I found hardcore, before I found punk, when I was like 10 years old, So it, my brother changed my life. He introduced me to really, really cool stuff. And I think he kind of paved the way. He ate a lot of shit. Being an older brother or being the eldest in a first generation American family, you're taking along a lot of the heat. He was writing the family's checks at 5 years old because he was the only one that knew how to write in English. So it was crazy. So I owe him so much that without him, I don't think I would have the opportunities to do what I do because my parents are a little more comfortable with me doing it. A funny story, I was on tour with Lauryn Hill for 5 years, who's my favorite artist of all time probably, and my parents didn't know who the hell they were, and they still didn't want me to do the music thing by then. I was like 21 when I was touring, and my dad was bartending at a Chinese restaurant. And, one of his clients was like, yo, what does your kid do? He's like, oh, he just messes around music. He'll figure it out. He'll just get into some other shit later, And it's like, oh, does he work with any artists? I know. He's like, I don't know. And it's like, here's a picture of him with this artist. And it was me and Lauryn Hill. And the guy was like, that's fucking Lauryn Hill. It's like, yeah, he's like traveling. He's like around the world producing and doing stuff with Lauryn Hill. And it was like, that's fucking Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
And it took that for him to like get it and to finally kind of see it that, oh, maybe there's a path here. So yeah, I owe hip hop a lot.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the fact that you were able, I mean, the smallest of things. I mean, I know touring with Lauryn Hill and like that's not a small thing, but it's like it can literally be you getting a mention in your local newspaper.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, Will's made it. He's in the newspaper. And then your parents are like, all right, now, and you're like, that is not like I've done other things.
Yeah.
So with the, once you started to really throw yourself into production and you obviously started to develop these, like you mentioned, really long-term relationships with bands, like you've done records for bands for many, many years. Do you have to have those conversations where it's like you're talking about where, okay, we're going to do a new record. We need to figure out a different way around it. How do you handle the conversation when a band is like, hey, Will, we love you, but we need to work with somebody else?
I know a lot of producers, engineers, and it's not directed towards anyone, but they feel it as they should. Anyone that works on a record, that's your record too. Producers are so important, engineers are so important, but at the end of the day, it's the artist's record. It's their record. Whatever they want to do, I back. There's so many bands. A few bands will hit me up and say, dude, we decided after talking to the team, we're just gonna do something different. I'm like, fuck yeah, man, go kill it. I think engineers and producers, you have to have a larger vision with it, and you have to know that a band, if they do great, the back catalog does great. You know what I mean? And that because you don't do their next record, that doesn't mean that you're not going to do their next record after that. So I try to maintain a very positive attitude. Even with records that with bands that I don't do their third record with or don't do the fourth record with, we stay in touch because I tell them, like, however I can help, I'm there for you. Like, it's not about this record. It's about our relationship. It's about our collaborative relationship. I just want to support you guys, and, just like Turnstile, the last record I did the pre-production on, and they decided to do, them and their label decided to do the record with Mike Gonzato, who's a recording influence of mine, and Brendan would text me every day about mixes and things. So it was really cool to experience that, to still be a part of that. But that's my goal, is to still be a part of it. But at the end of the day, it's the artist's record. It's their record. You don't have ownership to that, especially before the record's being made. You know what I mean? I just want them to be happy and do the best that they can, and it's all gonna work out in the long run. If they become the biggest band, look, Turnstile became the biggest fucking band in the world, and it's great for everything. It's great. We get calls all the time, and we're like, oh shit, this is crazy. I don't remember a time hardcore's been bigger right now, and that's because they just made this fucking record, and I couldn't be more proud of them and more proud of the decisions they made for that.
Yeah. And that, I think you hit it. You can't take business decisions personal.
No, absolutely not. It's not. That's very small-minded. I think you just have to just invest in artists, invest in great artists, and just let great music be out there. I learned a really, really great lesson working on a record label with my mentor, Dave Rath, and we didn't sign someone. We couldn't sign this one band, and I was bummed, because I thought we were gonna get it. And he was like, dude, Will, root for them. No matter what, root for them. Hope that they become the biggest fucking band in the world, because when they do, you're going to have the next 30 versions of them hitting you up and wanting to sign here. And I was like, damn, that's so smart. That's such a positive way and an accurate way of looking at it, is that as long as great music is getting put out there and great music getting made, whether I'm involved or not, that's just good for me. That means business is good. That means there's going to be a want to make music, so yeah, you can't take it personal, because it's not about me. It's not about the producer. It's about the art.
Right. It's not like they're like, you know what, Will sucks. You can take it personally if they say that, obviously.
Yeah. I'll be pretty bummed.
Right.
I'll be pretty bummed they said that. Yeah.
So when your name was rising to prominence, in the late O's, early 10s, when like La Dispute and Balance. And you, at least from the outside, and I know from working on a few projects with you, you worked during, and you still do work incredibly hard. But I imagine there was a time where you were biting off way more than you could chew, where it's like, oh, I'm going to track for 12 hours and then mix for 8 and sleep for 3, and then, I mean, maybe that's still you, but...
I'm still pretty close.
So how did you, I guess, find somewhat of a balance as you were like, I can't say no to doing another Law Dispute record, but I have to mix the balance. Like, how are you navigating that?
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of baked into my blood. You know, my parents are very hardworking people, and they kind of instilled that on me. But yeah, my schedule is crazy. You know, my schedule right now isn't too far than my schedule 10 years ago, where I wake up at 8 o'clock. We get into the studio by 10:30. We produce. We work for 10 hours. Go home, have dinner with my wife, and kick it for a little bit, and then I mix until about 3 o'clock in the morning. I know that's not sustainable, and that's not the healthiest thing, but I can't say no to great records. I just can't. I don't advise everyone to do that because it's definitely not the healthiest way to live. But the secret that I found, not the secret, is to find a consistency. Is that, I'm going to have my lunch the same time. I have walking the dog the same time every day. So I have pillars of, like, normalcy.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to have my dinner the same time every day with my wife. I'm going to do the same thing every day because within those pockets of working, I'm doing the craziest shit every single day. You know?
Sure.
So, I think it's just, I don't know. I can't say no to great records, man. I can't say no. And hopefully the calls will still keep coming, you know? But I'm grateful that they're here. So, yeah, man, it's an honor, it's a privilege to get to work on music. It's a privilege to get to work on, you know, the bands that are working here or playing here. So, you know, life's short. Why not be a part of it and make great music with them?
Right, as long as you have a structure to where...
as long as...
And I'm sure that there are times where you feel completely shot and burnt out, where you're like, I cannot listen to music anymore.
Yeah, honestly, it was, you know, I've been lucky enough to have other ventures come to my life, whether record label or the drum company and other things. Those are things that kind of almost overwhelmed it because those are living and breathing things against the structure. You know, in the middle of drum takes with whoever, I'll get a call from X band on memory, you know, and those are tough. But even with that, finding a way with the other ventures to let go of some of the work, you know, find great partners to help me, you know, was key. And that's another thing is other than structure is trusting great people around you to help you, have help. I didn't do this all by myself. You know, I did this with Christina, I did this with my assistants, I did this with my manager. You know, all those guys are just as important as me working all this stuff, because without them, I'll probably be a crumbled up mess, you know, at this point.
You would fall apart.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy because my one of my assistants, this was like 10 years ago. I think it was during that time of a lot of dispute rooms at the house. You know, we were working insane hours because I don't like to put. The one bad thing about me that labels hate about me is I don't really work with deadlines, and labels hate that.
Yeah,
because
weird. That's very bizarre. I think we got to put out a record, Will. No. I'm still mixing.
Yeah, we shoot for deadlines, obviously, but I think every band that works with me would tell you that we're not going to settle. You know, I'm never going to say, oh, that's it. Okay, yeah, what we have is what we have. No, you're unhappy with mix, we're going to fix it. You know, with Code Orange songs, we go through like 30 versions of the mix. You know, we always go over time. The Lot of Dispute records, we're always working on vocals months and months, and, you know, past due. And, you know, it gets on top of stuff that's already booked. And my assistant was like, dude, you're going to get burnt out. You know, like all engineers get burnt out. Producers get burnt out after doing this for 15 years. That was 15 years, or that was almost 10. Yeah, it was 10 years ago, and I'm still doing it, and I'm just grateful because, again, I think as long as you have a healthy support system, and know how to structure it, you have the best of luck.
Right, you can push that forward. I want to talk specifically about a few records, but before that, like you were talking about with the picture of Lauryn Hill with your parents, and like kind of on the flip side of that. When did you feel, whether it's a specific record or a specific year, where you were like, yo, I'm doing this. Like, I'm getting calls. I'm, booked out 8 months in advance. Like, when did you feel like you were an adult? Or maybe you still don't feel like you're an adult, but...
I've never felt that way.
Perfect.
I've never felt that way. I always feel like every record's going to be my last record. I always think every record that I'm doing the worst job. You know what I mean? I think if you lose that edge, you know, of kind of having that, not anxiety, but that, you know, just like
nervous
stress.
energy?
Yeah, that nervous energy, that stress towards a record, you know, then I think an edge is cut off, you know. I'm always nervous on day one of a record. You know, I think all my friends would tell you that to go into a record, like, you can't talk to me a few days before because I'm reviewing all my notes, I'm doing all my homework on it, and every day, I always tell bands, I'm going to work, when we're in the studio, I'm going to work as hard, if not harder, than everybody in the room, because I owe that to you guys. I owe that to Brendan from Turnstile. I owe that to these guys. I'm going to have your back. I'm going to work so hard. And I think if you're ever comfortable, I think you're going to lose a little bit of that edge. And yeah, it's just not how I'm wired, man. You know, who knows? The music industry can crash in 6 months, and you know we're all getting paid half as much, or whatever it is. Another, you know, hopefully not. Another pandemic hits, and no one's making music, or no one's playing live music for a while. You know, it's like things can change. So you know, I'm not focused on like being comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I think that's the thing. I think I go into everything trying to make sure that I'm not comfortable so I can work the hardest. You know what I mean? So I can literally just focus on making awesome music and just kind of push myself to do the best that I can with every record that I do.
Yeah, I like that edge philosophy because it does. I mean, a lot of times anybody that's ever recorded, like, there's that level of comfort that you kind of start to get in when you've worked with the person once or twice where you're just like, oh, dude, Will's going to do it. He'll fix it. And you're just like, no, man. Like,
hey, man, I catch myself, too. I am guilty of that. Second nature to just, you know, when easy is good. You know, easy feels good. You know what I mean? But, you know, I'll be the first one, you know, when someone looks over and say, dude, this isn't the best idea, huh? And I'm like, damn, it's not. It's not. You know, let's work on something else. You know, it was such a crazy conversation while making Hyperview. We had a whole record done. The whole record was demoed out. We pre-pro'd everything. All the melodies were there. And then Shane, you know, again, I'm lucky to work with such inspiring artists. And he looked over to me. He's like, dude, we did this already. He said, this sounds like just like another version of Flora Green. I'm like, fuck, you're not wrong. He's like, let's just do another, let's scrap it and just do other songs. I'm like,
do another record.
In here? Like now? He's like, fuck it, let's do it. You know, he just wasn't happy doing the same thing. I'm like, that's so fucking cool. And we did it. You know, we built up another record and I couldn't be more proud of it. But yeah, man, that's just how we are. You know, artists, I keep saying this, but I'm so lucky to work with such influential artists and such creative minds. You know, they're all like Kanye's to me. They're all like, you know, Lauryn Hill's to
next
me.
Level,
they're
right.
all next level. So they're going to push me, and my goal is to push back. And with that, we're going to produce something really fucking cool. So, and that's a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of hard work. You're never that comfortable, and it's usually never easy.
Yeah, for sure. So there's like I said, a few records I wanted to or a few bands I wanted to pick on specifically. Maybe a little deeper cuts, but you know, I mean, Blacklisted was and still is a very influential band to anybody that has interacted with them, and they are such a unique force because that band evolved into just being kind of
ahead of their time.
Totally, like a straightforward hardcore band initially, and then continued along. So when I bring up Blacklisted to you, what sort of sticks out in regards to either the creative process or like how they worked with you?
They changed my life. Without that band, I wouldn't be here. A lot of bands wouldn't be here. It's funny. I posted that I was doing this today, and then Bean, John, the guitar player for Blacklisted, texted me. He's like, "Dude, I'm so proud of you." I was like, "Bro, none of this is happening. Like, I'm not here without you, you know." But yeah, they were just such an honest band. You know, it was what feels right to them. But they're also, again, just like all those other artists, they never want to stay stagnant. John never wants to make the same record twice, you know, and they have such great influences, deeper influences, especially as they grew. You know, he was the first one to you know, lend me a Neutral Milk Hotel record. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, you're in Blacklisted though. What is this? You know what I mean?
This isn't hard, bro.
Yeah. And he's like, yo, I want the next record to sound like this. Plus like Dinosaur Jr. I'm like, what? You know? And so I love that, and I feed off of that energy, you know. But they're such an influential band. If no one deserves to be here came out today, it will be a huge record. You know, they were such ahead of their time, and it was really cool to be a part of it at such a young age. How we started working together was I was doing demos for them in my basement forever ago, and when I started working at Studio 4, we did demos before no one. And they actually had time booked or with another studio with, you know, one of the greatest producers in hardcore. And John called me. He was like, dude, I think we're just going to do the record with you. I'm like, what? He was like, dude, the demos sound great. Why change it? I'm like, fuck. And the label wasn't happy. You know, people that were working with them weren't happy. They're like, who the hell's this 20-year-old kid that's doing the hottest hardcore band right now? And, you know, they gave me an opportunity that, you know, so it was at that point, it was the biggest opportunity I've ever had. And without that, there was no me in Title Fight. The reason why I started working with Title Fight was because of Blacklisted. Totally. You know, I had no other big credits before that, you know, other than the pop credits of Studio 4, right? And so, yeah, without them, none of this would be here.
That's
for
incredible.
Sure.
Yeah. Blacklisted. Long live Blacklisted. Selfishly speaking, one of my favorite bands that you have ever worked with is Pianos Become the Teeth. And they are, I mean, they're just...
They're amazing.
Yeah, to talk about another band that's just been like, oh, here we're like this screamo band, and then like now we're like the hardcore version of The National. And it's like... So when I bring up Pianos to you, I know that, like, I mean, you've worked with them on Keep You and Wait for Love.
Yep.
How did that, from them being like, hey, so we're not going to scream anymore, like, how was that process getting them to that point?
You know, it's kind of crazy. I feel like I was able to be a part of a lot of hardcore bands, the melodic shift, right? I won't get into the two. This is a sidebar joke. I did, I won't say which band, but I did a band's, you know, second record. I loved it. And this young girl, like, this is when, like, commented or Facebook messaged me and the singer at the same time. Or was like, Will, you should never be allowed to make a record ever again. You ruin all my favorite pop punk bands and hardcore bands, you know? And I'm like, and she said some crazy shit that I'm not going to repeat. It's like some insane shit that I should never be allowed to work on music again. And it's just funny because 3 months later, she messaged both of us back and was like, hey, I'm the one that, you know, was spewing all that bullshit, and then took a picture of the tattoo of the record that she got a tattoo of. She said, it just took me some time. It changed my life. It's the most important record to me. I'm like, that's crazy. Right. You know, but
thanks for letting me know.
But I think, again, is for some reason, maybe it was just the time. It's just the synchronicity of the band's, you know, headspace and my headspace or my availability to them. But I was just lucky to do a lot of bands. I won't call it transitional. It's just they're a melodic shift or whatever, you know. And Piano's one of those bands. And when Kyle said, you know, when they were like, this is going to be a lot more melodic of a record, you know, work on these vocals, and they just feel better, melodic and singy, you know, in quotes. And I was like, I'm here for it. You know, my biggest thing on the production side, I think a lot of people's this comes back to me, is drums and vocals.
Sure.
Two of the most important things, rhythm and melody. Those are the two most important things to me about music. You know, can I sing along and does it feel good? You know, can I bob my head to it? And so vocals is such an important thing to me. I knew I was going to be good. I knew when he said that, you know, because I heard glimpses of on the old records. You know, there's a lot of moments I was like, this motherfucker can sing.
Yeah.
If we dive into it, they can be a fucking big band and a very important band, and we can make a very special record that will widen the net that they can that will welcome more ears, just like what Glow On did for Turnstile. You know what I mean? That the net just got wider and wider because the sense of melody just got so much larger. And I was very confident in that going into that record, Pianos, that I was just ready for it because that's just what we do here. It's not about making another hardcore record or another screamo record. Is let's just make the next record, whatever it is. There's so many records that we do that we're like, man, if we just named the band something else, we might be like huge. You know what I mean? Because there's no expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't care, man. I just want to grow with the band. I think those are the bands that stay around forever, are the ones that evolve and forces the listener to grow with them. If you can have your fan base and your listeners grow with you, you're probably going to be around for a long time because you're going to have a lot of invested, active listeners.
Right, yeah, no, it's true, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I wanted to hit on was the idea that, you know, you have done so much with bands, and you obviously toured for many years as well. When you were touring, did you, for one, like touring, and for two, do you have sort of like tour hacks, as it were, that made your life a little more comfortable on the road, in order to kind of, give you those creature comforts that you need when you're on the road?
I'm so grateful for my 5 years or so of touring, but I personally hate touring.
You're not cut out for it.
I'm not. That's I think I did a great job. Getting to I did drums for a little bit, but then I was front of house and ran teleprompter and ran monitors. And my main gig was tour managing a 22-person band at one point. For such a long time. I knew from the second that I started making music that what I want to do and what I think I'm meant to be doing is making new music every day. I love touring. I'm so blessed to be able to see the world. We've been everywhere, but I remember it was like in Portugal or something. I'm like, damn, we're just doing the same 22 songs every night, and that's not why I do music. You know what I mean? That's not why I love music. I love music because I get to build fresh music and fresh new ideas and fresh melodies and fresh songs every single day. That's my high. You know what I mean? Like that's, I talk about Anthony Green all the time, that we come in, we treat it like it's a 9-to-5 job. We come in the morning, we have no ideas, we work on something, and then by the end of the day, we're high-fiving each other. We're like, oh, this is a new song, let's do the next one. Let's work on the next one. That's why I work with music. So I love touring in a sense that I got to see the world, but it's not why I love music. I love music because I love songs and I love new songs. So
right,
yeah.
You want to create new stuff.
Yeah, I want to create stuff every day. That's my goal. I'm itching. I've been away from home for 10 days or so, and we had a blast. But I'm excited to work on this next record. You know what I mean? And build the next batch of ideas. Been humming stuff all trip. You know what I mean? So I think that's why. Again, I think a lot of artists kind of feel that with me too. They feel that way too. That's why artists have studio setups in their buses, because they have to keep creating. The great ones always have ideas brewing, So, yeah.
Yeah, got to get the lab going.
Yep, absolutely.
Will, thank you very much for hanging out. Everybody
Absolutely.
Give it up for Will.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
There you have it. Another great live episode, in my opinion, from Outbreak Fest. Shout out to the whole team involved with that. Shout out to Jordan from Outbreak Fest. And shout out to everybody who made these experiences and chats so good. And shout out to Simone, who recorded all of these, and he made it sound very, very good. And it was just such a great experience. And honestly, can't wait to go back next year. That's the plan as of right now. But next week, I have another fun discussion with a very old friend of mine. I've known her ever since I was maybe 16 or 17 years old, and I'm, like in my early 40s now. But we have Vic Martin, who worked at Revelation Records for many years, runs Simba Records, and then she also currently now works at Pirates Press Records. She also did Simba Fanzine back in the day. She's just been a pillar of, I would say, an institution in regards to independent music. She's been so supportive over a lot of bands and just, working behind the scenes in the music industry. And it was a great discussion. It was a long time coming because she's one of those people where I've been like, oh yeah, eventually I'll get around to Vic. Eventually I'll do that. But then, finally we made it happen. So that is what's up next week. And until then, please be safe, everybody.
Cheer your team on live at the FIFA World Cup 2022 final in Qatar. Frito-Lay is giving you the chance to win 2 tickets by joining their Pass the Ball Challenge. Look for the Golden World Soccer Ball, then find friends and score daily entries every time you pass the ball. Scan the QR code on specially marked bags of Lay's, Cheetos, or Doritos, or visit FritoLayScore.com.
No purchase necessary. Open to legal residents of 50 USDC. 18 plus grand prize entry deadline 11/10/22. Entries received after 11/10/22 are only eligible for secondary prizes. See rules at FritoLayScore.com.
Hey, it's me, Ray, host of this very podcast. What if you had insights into your genetics that could help you live healthier? And how would you use that knowledge to change your life? You can hear me talk about how insights from my DNA have affected my personal health journey on this season of the podcast Spit from iHeartRadio and 23andMe. Host Baratunde Thurston explores how DNA isn't just about ancestry, it's a key to understanding your health. On this season, you'll hear me and 22 other podcasters discuss what genetics revealed about our health and how that knowledge has impacted the way we live our lives. Listen to my episode out now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you, creators, for seeing what no one else could see and making it a reality, for challenging us to dream bigger, even when times are challenging. This holiday season, Adorama is here to help you get more with hand-picked gifts, can't-miss exclusives, daily deals and rewards, advice from the experts, and super-fast shipping. Adorama thanks you, and we promise we won't stop. Create, no matter what. Shop Adorama.com today.